It was a cold, windy night in the small town of Silver Creek, the kind of night when even the stars seemed to hide behind heavy clouds. The diner's neon sign flickered weakly against the storm, and inside, only a few customers lingered. Among them sat Emma Walker, her hands trembling slightly as she wrapped them around a chipped coffee mug. Her eyes were tired, not from lack of sleep, but from the weight of the life she had carried alone for far too long. She was a widow, young, barely 30, but with eyes that had seen too much loss. The town whispered about her husband's accident, about how she sold almost everything to pay the hospital bills, about how she still wore her wedding ring even though the man she loved was gone. The doorbell jingled, breaking her thoughts. A tall man stepped in, brushing snow from his hat. His coat looked expensive, too fine for Silver Creek, but his presence was quiet, unassuming. He slid into a booth a few seats away, ordered black coffee, and stared out the window like he was searching for something that wasn't there. His name was Luke Carson. No one in town knew him yet, but if they did, they'd recognize him as the owner of Carson Ranch, the largest stretch of land and one of the wealthiest properties in the entire county. But Luke didn't come here to be a rancher tonight. He came to disappear, to escape the noise of money, business, and expectations. Emma caught herself glancing his way. There was something steady about him, a kind of peace she hadn't felt in a long time, but she quickly looked away. She had more pressing worries. Her son, Noah, was sick at home with the flu, and she had no one to stay with him tomorrow. Worse yet, she'd received a letter from the city welfare department. They were sending someone to evaluate her home situation. If she didn't have proof of stable family support, they might take Noah away until she could improve living conditions. That line burned into her mind all day. She couldn't lose him. He was all she had left. When Luke stood to leave, something inside Emma panicked. She didn't know why, but desperation made her speak. "Excuse me, sir?" Her voice trembled. Luke turned, his blue eyes calm and curious. "Yes, ma'am? Can you pretend to be my husband? Just for tonight." The diner fell silent for a heartbeat. Even the waitress froze mid-step. Emma's face flushed red, realizing how strange it sounded. I'm sorry," she stammered. "It's not what it sounds like. Please, I just need someone to meet a social worker tomorrow morning. They need to see that I'm not alone. If they think my husband's here, even just for one visit, they'll let me keep my son. I swear I'll explain everything. I just don't have anyone else to ask." Luke didn't answer right away. He studied her face, how her eyes were filled with sincerity and fear, not deceit. "You don't even know me," he said softly. "I know," she whispered. "But you look kind." That line hit something deep inside him. He'd been called rich, handsome, successful, but not kind. Not for years. He nodded slowly. "All right," he said finally. "I'll help you." The next morning, Emma couldn't believe he actually showed up. He was dressed neatly, holding a bouquet of simple wildflowers. Noah, the little boy with messy hair and sleepy eyes, instantly liked him. "You're really tall," Noah said, grinning shyly. Luke smiled. "Helps me reach the cookie jars." When the social worker arrived, Emma's hand shook so badly she almost dropped the teapot. But Luke handled everything with warmth and ease. He talked about their son as if he'd known him for years. He complimented Emma's home-cooked pie, made jokes about their first date, and even looked at her the way real husbands do, with quiet admiration. For a moment, Emma forgot it was all pretend. She forgot the loneliness, the fear. She felt safe. After the visit, when the social worker finally smiled and said, "Everything seems wonderful here, Mrs. Carson," Emma almost cried. Luke waited until the door closed, then turned to her gently. "You're safe now," he said. She exhaled shakily. "I can't thank you enough. You don't know what this means to me." Luke gave a small smile. "Maybe I do." He didn't explain what he meant, and she didn't ask. But when he left that evening, something in the house felt emptier than before. Days passed, and Emma went back to her routine. But every night she caught Noah asking questions. "When's Luke coming back?" Or, "Can we visit his ranch someday?" Emma would just smile sadly and say, "He was just helping us, sweetheart." Still, deep down, she wished she could see him again. And then, one afternoon, a black truck pulled up to her old farmhouse. Luke stepped out holding a small box. "You left this in my truck," he said with a grin. She frowned. "I don't even remember getting in your truck." "Guess that means I needed an excuse to come back," he admitted. Emma laughed softly, But then her smile faded. "Luke, why did you really help me?" He looked at her for a long moment before speaking. "Because I lost someone once too," he said. "My wife 3 years ago. And when you asked me to pretend to be a husband, I remembered what it felt like to be one." His voice trembled slightly. "You reminded me that maybe I could still do good for someone. Even just for a day." Tears filled Emma's eyes. She took a step closer. "You didn't just help me for a day, Luke. You gave me back my hope." From that day on, Luke began stopping by often, fixing her old fence, bringing food, teaching Noah to ride a pony he'd brought from his ranch. What started as kindness turned into friendship, and friendship quietly blossomed into something deeper. One evening, under the fading sunset, Noah ran up to Luke and asked innocently, "Can you be my dad for real?" Emma froze, her heart skipping a beat. Luke knelt, meeting the boy's eyes. "If your mom lets me," he said softly. Emma's breath caught. Tears welled up as she nodded, unable to speak. Luke reached for her hand, the same way he had that first night in the diner. But this time it wasn't out of pity or pretense, it was love. Months later, the whole town gathered at Carson Ranch. The same man who had once walked into Silver Creek to escape his wealth now stood proudly beside the woman who'd reminded him what life was really about. The poor widow who once begged a stranger to pretend became the woman who helped a broken man find his heart again. As they exchanged vows under the open sky, Emma whispered, "You were supposed to just pretend." Luke smiled, brushing away her tears. "And I never stopped pretending because now it's real." The crowd clapped. Noah laughed, and somewhere above the hills of Silver Creek, the clouds finally cleared, revealing stars that hadn't shone in years. That night, Emma sat on the porch of her new home, the ranch that was now theirs. Luke wrapped his arm around her, and she rested her head on his shoulder. For the first time in years, she felt peace. Sometimes the people who appear in your darkest moment aren't there by accident. Sometimes fate sends a stranger to remind you that love still finds its way, even through a lie told out of desperation.